Tell us something about Bob Marley that most people don't know.
He supported 6,000 people a month with his charity.
Really?
His business manager, Colin Leslie, is one of my dearest friends. And he had to co-sign the checks or they weren't valid. So he knows how Bob Marley spent his money. And he had 6,000 people each month who depended on him for their very life. And the minute he died, his wife cut everybody off.
Wow, okay. Tell me
He lived for other people.
Yes.
His whole purpose in life was to bring the message of Rastafari to the world, to help the sufferers in Jamaica. He was you know, that movie that was made a couple of years ago left out the most important rejection of his life. It was a movie about being rejected by the whites and the blacks. But they didn't deal with the most important rejection of his life. When he was 5 years of age, his father showed up out of nowhere and said to his mother, "Give me the kid, I'm going to take him to Kingston and educate him." And instead he sent him to live with an old woman who was dying and abandoned him. And for almost the next 2 years, Bob Marley, from the ages of 5 to 7, was an abandoned child on the streets of Kingston, fending not only for himself, but this old lady. And you could have turned very bad very quickly in those circumstances, become a pickpocket or whatever. But what it did was give him an empathy for what he called the sufferers, people who were through no fault of their own, just an accident of birth, born into poverty. And it was his desire throughout his life to help those people. And he gave away almost everything. He never owned a house of his own. He probably bought 36 houses for other people. He was just as happy sleeping on the ground with that rock stone for his pillow. That wasn't just a metaphor. Bob's songs were autobiographical, all of them. And he lived for other people. And he knew he was going to die young. In the summer of 1969, he was living with his mother in Delaware, where she had married a man 6 years earlier. And that Woodstock summer, he told Ibis Pitts and Dion Wilson that he was going to die at 36. He was 24 at the time. It's an odd thing for a kid to be thinking about.
It's very strange.
But he did. He died at 36. He was psychic. He knew a lot about people's lives that he couldn't possibly have known through any normal way.
Did I also read somewhere that one time you were sitting with Stevie Wonder and Bob Marley, and also...
No, just with Stevie after Bob died, out at the country club in Reseda.
Yes.
And there's a picture of us. He's holding, you know, Stevie always holds your hand when he talks to you. And he said when he first met Bob in 74 and held his hand, he knew he was going to die young. Because he's psychic, Stevie. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, last year I did a lecture on Bob at Florida International University, and a Jamaican novelist came up afterwards, and I had read about this guy, but he came up and he said, "I got to tell you a story." He says, "I met Bob in 1975 at the University of the West Indies, and he came up to me. We'd never met before, and he sat down next to me and he told me the most intimate details of my life that just flabbergasted me. I was left speechless. Nobody in the world knew these things. And Bob just spelled them out one after another to me." So we're dealing with a prophet, a real, honest-to-God living prophet in our time.
That is exciting.
Yeah, and I don't say that lightly. I mean, there's plenty of proof of this.